What's up, familia? We have a very special guest today in the Power of X-Men PoX Treehouse. And Sean, I'm obsessed with our guest today.
I know, you just want to stop talking about him.
I know, I can't because he's one of the OG cosplayers on Instagram. I feel like
I can't believe
everyone
that.
has Folks, we have Luigi in the house. It's SuperXLuigi's.
Hey, familia.
You fucking troll.
Yes, I'm glad to be here.
We're happy to have you. We just met for the first time a couple of months ago in LA.
Yes.
We had a happy hour with my brother, Namor, and Jason.
Yeah, that was an amazing time. That was a lot of fun.
You were
about X-Men.
Yeah, you were my hair twin, which I was so happy about. And then I cut my hair.
Yeah, what happened?
Yeah.
I had like a Britney moment. I was just like, you know what? Like, fuck this. Like, I want short hair again. And now I regret it. But so I'm going to let it grow out in time for WonderCon. Because I want to do Nate Gray for WonderCon.
Yes. If you need any help. You got two cosplayers here.
I've very obsessively been messaging Sean about Nate Gray and like what I have to do for this.
I'm sending links, trying to give him advice. I'm still not holding my breath to see if you actually do it. But
No, bitch, I'm gonna do it, I swear.
The one advice I have from doing Rogue is don't put in like the white hairspray. Like get white hair extensions and then cut it to like
You mean
form
like that
to
rogue?
your hair. Yes.
That rogue right there. Yes.
Because there was ones I did before, and I did the white hairspray, and it ends up coming out and doesn't show up.
Who did we have on the podcast recently that was like, I did that white stuff on my hair and it like really breaks hair? Was it Chris cosplay?
literally Chris cosplay yesterday.
Bitch, I can't remember everything.
Yeah, the short-term memory.
The short-term memory.
The only problem is if it's a character and it's like your hair. It's hard to get, as a male cosplayer, it's hard to get a good wig that looks decent.
Where do you get a good male cosplay wig? Asking for a friend. Look at you, Sean.
I literally will just dye my hair for.
Would you?
There was a period where I wanted to do some like good pictures with Captain Britain, so I just dyed my hair blonde.
That is commitment.
Yeah.
I'm not sure for like WonderCon if I want to do. I'm thinking of doing Captain Marvel, like the original. And I think I would do a wig because I don't think I would
get all of your blonde characters. Just go blonde and do all of the blonde characters you want to do.
I love that. Weekend. Have a blonde, be a chaotic bottom in crisis.
Yeah.
So Luigi, we're having you on the podcast today for our Halloween episode, and we're calling this Super Luigi's Haunted House. And we wanted to talk about X-Villains with you, and I'm going to kick off with a question. This is our Oprah question for the episode, which is, what do you think make X-Villains so special?
There's just like a humanity behind a lot of the X-Villains, and so you're kind of like, that's why even like Magneto, he's never like really bad, really good, and oftentimes I always have discussions with friends like, would you be a Brotherhood or would you actually be an X-Men?
Brotherhood.
Yeah. I would
totally be an X-Man.
Yeah, I would definitely be an X-Man.
You're such a Boy Scout. No, I'm Brotherhood.
I feel like I would be one of those that switch teams.
You're on X-Force. You're on another one.
Yeah, I'm on X-Force.
Or more like an Emma Frost, which is, I feel that maybe you would be servicing the cause, not the ideology. It's like, what's best for mutants? You're not playing this Xavier versus Magneto bullshit. You want to get shit done.
Yeah, and sometimes those pesky humans get in the way,
Fuck those humans. But you know what? That's interesting that you said that, because we've had the Lewalds, Eric and Julia Lewald, who, of course, were the showrunners for X-Men 92. And they were very deliberate in how they wanted to introduce Magneto, because they wanted to establish the U.S. government as being the real villains for the series and the Sentinel program. And so by the time we introduce Magneto, even though he's supposed to be, quote unquote, the bad guy, his side may not be wrong. His approach may not be wrong. There may be some truth
Yeah.
in his approach. So I agree with you in terms of Magneto and what make X villains, in particular, when you think of other people's rogues galleries, is that the X villains are very well realized, and they're just not these black and white motives behind it.
Yeah. I mean, you got a few that are just wacky, but like for the most part.
Yeah,
Oh,
like you look
wacky.
at like the Krakoa era, some of them are end up on the council, a lot of them get forgiven and given a place in mutant society. So it's not like if you look at like the Batman Rogue Gallery, where the majority are just psychopaths. There's not really that many redeeming qualities to them.
Yeah.
So I think you make a good point
Just mayhem and murder.
Exactly.
Although I love the One Bad Day series that they do for the Batman villains, where they talk about that one day that just pushed those Bat villains off. And I think we're very lucky as X fans and as Batman fans as well that we have very fully realized villains. And I think that's what makes the stories very compelling.
We've been having a lot of discussions about the X-Men coming into the MCU and what we want to see. Yes. Who would be the villain you'd love to see in like the first inaugural X-Men movie?
Oh, so well, I mean, like I still would love like a not a PoX version, but a good Magneto. I feel like he's the classic X-Men villain, so I think that would be a good. I was so excited about Apocalypse, but then that was just messed up. So
it was Ivan Ooze.
Yes.
And he was just going around giving everyone haircuts.
Yeah. I still don't think it was the worst X-Men Fox film, but it was definitely up there.
Wait, I'm sorry. Sidebar. Which Fox X-Men film do you think is worse?
For me, it was Last Stand.
Oh yeah.
Really? Over the Apocalypse one?
Over Apocalypse and over Phoenix.
Look at that deep cut. Well, the only reason why I will give pushback to you on this, Luigi, is because I don't disagree that Last Stand was terrible, but I can forgive Last Stand because it's part of the Days of Future Past timeline where it gets erased. So in that regard, it got us to point B. But yes, it's pretty. When it was coming out in 2006 and we were like, that's it. This is the end to the X-Men trilogy. It was awful.
And I think I was so excited by certain cameos of characters in Last Stand, and it was like really sad.
Yeah. Wait, which cameo were you in particular?
Psylocke was one.
I know. I was so upset about that. And I'm forgetting the model who played her. But but you know what? We got Olivia Munn eventually. I was very happy with Olivia Munn in Apocalypse.
Great casting.
Yeah, she chewed that scene. And we were in talks with Olivia Munn, and then obviously everything happened with the strikes. So we're hoping to resume them once the strikes are done, so we can have her on the podcast.
Get her on. I want to hear the tea.
Yeah, I'm sure she's got plenty of tea. She was not happy with Bryan Singer, as there are a lot of people out there, but that's another talk for another day.
That's a whole other podcast.
Yeah, that's a whole other episode.
Aren't you close to West Hollywood? You could throw a rock and hit somebody that probably Bryan Singer is.
Yeah. For sure. Gotta find the young ones.
Okay, back to the question at hand. Okay, so Magneto. You want to see Magneto? You want to see a very? I agree. If you're going to build a foundation for X villains, you need to have Magneto.
And then I don't know, with the way the MCU, the direction is going, I think like introducing the Shi'ar Empire would be great. Yeah. So like, let's get like Deathbird, maybe even something with the Brood. I don't know, because out of the MCU currently, like right now, I think I like Guardians the best.
Yeah, I love Guardians. I'm really excited for them to continue expanding.
Yeah.
The cosmic side of things, right? So Nova's coming out, right? That was announced.
I think in general sweeps it's been announced. I think it was also announced as like a Disney Plus show. It's either very rumored to the point that it's all but confirmed, or they did say that it was coming to Disney Plus. That Nova was coming to Disney Plus. Because someone get Namor cosplay on here, right? To fact check this.
But you can see like the Shi'ar they've now got some Skrulls, they've got, the Marvels, you could add Silver Surfer, Nova, and eventually lead up to a big future flagship, movie where you do a big crossover.
And I think we need like a proper Dark Phoenix trilogy.
Yes.
Movie trilogy.
Well, what they need to do is, and we've talked about this before, you can't just do these X stories and expect them to land well with audiences. The beauty of X-Men stories is that you build up towards them. So you plant a seed and you let it grow bigger and bigger. So something like Dark Phoenix, for example, you don't do that in just one movie. You have to establish Jean as the heart and soul of the X-Men. You have to let her turn into Phoenix and then that fall from grace. And that is at least 3 to 4 movies right there. And by the way, they did it fine in the first round. It's just their Dark Phoenix story, the actual story of Dark Phoenix, sucked. Beyond
still the best like X-Men on-screen version of that was the X-Men animated series for me. That was the best story of that.
So good, and I'm so excited that X-Men 97 is coming back, and hopefully soon. We'll see how hopefully, I know. I was talking to a source today, and they were like, "Yeah, I think for January we're going to be MIA," and I was like, "Wait a minute, but that's when X-Men 97 is supposed to be coming out. So if you're going to be MIA for January, you're not going to be doing press for that. That makes me very nervous." So
yes,
I don't think they're making that January date.
We just gotta wait. What's another month?
What's another month?
I love that they kept the classic costume designs, but then like updated maybe like the hairstyles or whatnot. Like I'm so excited for it.
I'm really excited for it too. We've heard nothing but great things about it, and I think they're going to be following the trend they did in the original animated series. So,
do you think for it, because nowadays like cartoons are made also more for adults or just as much for adults as they are for kids? Do you think they're gonna make it more mature, the dialogue, the writing, the storylines, or do you think they're gonna stick to some of the campness and cartooniness of the early 90s?
I hope that they keep some of the camp, but I hope it's still more geared towards the adult. Like I want those more mature stories, but if Storm isn't bringing camp, I'm gonna be disappointed.
We spoke with Margaret Lesh last year, who was, she put her job on the line to make sure that show got on air. She talked about what family programming is supposed to be. And family programming is supposed to be something that entertains kids, but speaks up to the audience and especially to adults. And I think it's safe to say that Bo DeMaio gets that.
I just hope it's more than 8 episodes for the first season. Like that we get a little bit more.
Well, so that's really interesting. I don't know how they do this. We've talked about that endlessly about like how do they do seasons now, because there's a difference between how they order production episodes. Like Sailor Moon Crystal, for example, the first season is only like 12 episodes. I forget, I have to look at it, but it's 24. The production order was 24. They just divided it into 2 seasons, similarly like they did with the She-Ra DreamWorks reboot. So I wonder if they order 24 episodes or 20 episodes and they divide that. First 10 is season 1, second season is 2, and then they reorder it after that. So I'm curious, how did they order 14 episodes, and then are they going to divide 7 episodes for season 1 and then another for season 2? I don't know.
With these cartoons that are they're 30 minutes long and they release a season, and I mean you could just sit there in a single night and just binge the entire thing, and you're like, I've waited, how many years is that? 30 something years for it to come back out. And you're like, and in one night I finished it and gonna wait another.
And now I forget about it.
Yeah.
Luigi, were there any X villains that terrified you while you were growing up?
So speaking of the cosmic villains, the Brood.
Oh yes. Oh my
really
God.
Freaked me out. I forgot which issue I was reading. So when I was collecting comics as a kid, I never it was. I was always getting back issues, so it was what I could find, and so I don't know what issue, and I don't think I got the whole story, but it was the Brood infecting the X-Men, and it freaked me out. I remember checking under my bed for past.
Well, the Brood are legit terrified.
Yeah. I think if I was like, I was reading the question, I was like, what would I answer? And I actually had the Brood also, because I think just visually, they actually look really kind of gross and like something that you might actually find, if you're in the jungle or something.
Yeah. I mean, the Brood, like that image of Storm transforming into a Brood where she's like this and then she just slowly devolves into like a Brood. It is terrifying. There's something about like
Yeah,
body snatching and like,
Yeah.
transformation.
yeah, a body horror, like that, metamorphosis, um, I did book like or story. I can't do it. I can't. Like it terrifies me. And bugs in general just like give me like the heebie-jeebies.
Yeah, they're giant bugs with sharp teeth. Not a good combination.
I
Yeah.
You know which one always scared me was Apocalypse, and especially like Age of Apocalypse. Like I just pictured like nuclear war, people
Yeah,
enslaved, concentration camps, and like no regard for children or say like I the anarchy of Age of Apocalypse and Apocalypse being a dictator that used to scare me as a child.
That's
I
deep
think.
for a kid.
Well, listen.
Yeah.
Okay, well, first of all, I'm going to tell you something. The X-Men cartoon was very deep. Do you know in the opening credits, Jubilee is running from a mob that wants to lynch her, and she grabs onto the chain fence like this, and her eyes are terrifying. X-Men spoke, man. Those themes were there. That was terrifying.
Yeah, but let's be fair. Apocalypse in the cartoon had a giant A on his belt. Like, how scary a villain are you? When
Yeah,
you've got your initials on your underwear, basically. Do you know what I mean? Like,
Okay, but that was hot. Shut up. That was so hot. Daddy Apocalypse in the animated show, when he was here, like when he was talking to Mystique, and he's here, like, I know more of this world than you can dream. That is why I must destroy it. I remember being like, yes, Daddy Apocalypse, take this world to the cleaners.
oh,
yeah.
God.
Apocalypse, like, definitely, just as a character, like, is a really scary villain. The survival
Yeah.
of the fittest.
Did he not scare you, Sean?
No,
I mean, he
no.
he didn't he didn't scare me as a kid though. Like, in the series, like, he was a little
Yeah.
campy.
I think he was like the male version of Storm's campiness. Like he had these like
Yeah.
very verbose dialogue where he's like, "I am Oblivion, destroyer of worlds," or something similar to that effect. So,
Didn't you see the meme, like, with the Whitney Houston song with
No.
Apocalypse,
No.
the
no.
animated Apocalypse?
No. Please drop that in our
All right,
chat.
yeah, I'll have to find it.
So the other thing with Apocalypse were the four horsemen. Like I went to a Catholic school, so like I believed in all like
Yeah.
the apocalypse was nigh. We were all gonna die. We're gonna have to go to the hills, and Elian Gonzalez is gonna be our second coming of Jesus. But the image of war going or famine going like this,
Famine, yeah.
famine going like this in the anime show, and then all these people in like the countryside in France turning into skeletons. That terrified me.
Yeah, I think they were scarier than Apocalypse, to be honest.
Okay, but bitch, they orbit it like Apocalypse. They were part of
Yeah.
Apocalypse's story. So Apocalypse was the herald for these four horsemen. Well, I mean, technically they're the heralds for it. But anyways, listen, I digress.
Okay, so not Apocalypse then. Luigi, if you got to pick X-Men villain, scariest one between Apocalypse, Sinister, or Shadow King.
Oh, I'm still gonna have to go with comics, right? Comic versions.
Yeah.
I'm gonna have to go. I'm gonna have to go with Apocalypse.
Oh, there you go. Yeah, because he's terrifying.
I'm gonna say Shadow King.
Shadow King is
But
pretty
Shadow
scary.
King, it was hard between Shadow King and Apocalypse because
Like possession, he can read your mind. You don't want people like picking out your secrets, and you know what I mean?
You don't want people
Yeah.
knowing your Pornhub password. Like,
Exactly. 1, 2, 3, 4,
I
5,
will-
6. Yeah.
I will say the Legion TV show was really creepy.
oh, I haven't seen it. I haven't seen it.
Yeah, I
Did
didn't
you?
watch
Did you
any of
watch
it,
it?
No.
Wow.
No.
You watched it, Luigi?
Yeah, it has a very creepy vibe.
Yeah, I know Shadow King is supposed to be the main villain for it, and Aubrey Plaza's in it as
Yeah.
well.
It kind of goes off the rails in the later seasons, but
Were there multiple
it was a decent
seasons?
show. Yes,
Wow.
Yeah.
there might have
That
been 3. It could have been 2.
I feel like that went really under the radar.
It was-
It did.
It did. I think there was a lot of hype for it, but I think it was so far removed from like the X-Men. It wasn't like The Gifted, where The Gifted really got a lot of good publicity for whatever reason. I don't know if it was on FX or whatever, but Legion did not get the TLC it deserved.
Legion didn't really feel that related to the X-Men universe. It did kind of feel like its own thing. It felt like a horror TV show, kind of like along the lines of like American Horror Story or whatnot.
Okay, so they were capitalizing on the trend of American Horror Story, which was,
sure.
So big at the time that Legion was coming out. So that would make sense. I saw Aubrey Plaza when she was promoting the show at San Diego Comic-Con. She was coming out of her hotel with the cast, and I screamed to her, I'm like, Aubrey Plaza, the gays love you. And I have this photo where she just goes like this and gives like the biggest smile. I'm like, thank you, Aubrey Plaza. I think that was 2017, I believe. I can't believe all the years are jumbled up together in my head now. Sean, you brought up Mr. Sinister, and one of the things that I feel is really telling of the character in today's Krakoan era is that Sinister is very flamboyantly written. He's very theatrical, and that's sort of been the case with him for a while now, since the Utopian era, versus where he used to be like a creepy geneticist back in the day. Luigi, do you have a preference on how Sinister is approached? Do you like him as that creepy geneticist who's obsessed with the Summers family, or do you like him as this over-the-top character that's just, causing mayhem and sort of very theatrical about it?
I like the theatrics. I like the camp of the new
you like the camp
minister Sinister. Like legit, he was creepy as a geneticist obsessed with the Summers family too. So like I love those stories also, but I think the way he's written now, I appreciate it.
What about you,
I'm
Sean?
with you.
You're with
I've said it multiple times on this podcast. I think he's a lot better now than I think he's more fleshed out, whereas before it felt maybe a bit more one-dimensional. Like he was just like, it was a geneticist, like you said, obsessed with the Summers family.
Family.
He's got a personality. He's like a Disney villain now. Do you know what I mean? Like he's just, you could see him bursting out in song in the middle of a panel or something, and explaining his entire evil plot. Yeah.
Oh my God, Bo DeMaio, if you're listening, please put that in X-Men 97.
And which issues were that you had, like it was like the gossip at the end of the comic from like the Sinister bar? Yeah, it would be like overheard. It was almost like Gossip Girl. Like, I look for that. So good.
Although a lot of them just never came to pass. I mean, yes, the Sinister, newsletter, the Red Diamond newsletter, it was there for PoX. It was very dominant during the Dawn of X era, and I think it's appeared maybe once or twice since then. But yeah, I like that. I don't dislike that element of the character, but I would just keep more of his, like, a little bit of his creepiness still in there, which I don't think they've done a good job of keeping that creepiness in there for him.
There is an issue possibly where it's like, if you merge the two together, you don't want it to be portrayed in a certain, like, very negative stereotypical light for how he's being written now. That makes sense. So who knows?
Okay, so Luigi, the real villain of the X-Men is humanity, true or false?
True.
I agree. And I think HoxPox has done a good job of showing that in the House of X era.
Speaking of X villains, since we are in a Halloween spooky themed episode, why don't we go into your top 5 list of villains?
My top 5. Okay.
Yes. All right. Who's number 5, Luigi? Who's number 5?
Who is number 5? I am gonna have to put Mojo.
Mojo, yes. Okay, why Mojo's number 5?
Well, he looks creepy. Like, actually, he is a thing of nightmares.
Yeah.
Also,
I mean, we've talked to Ann Nesenti about him and his creation, and he was supposed to be emblematic of those. Oh my God, what do they call them back in the 80s? These like CEOs who like bought companies and then ran them to the ground and just moved on to the next one. And now he's obviously more emblematic of like
reality
evil Andy
TV.
Cohen's. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah,
evil Andy Cohen's.
But also, I love his being as creepy as he looks. He's pretty ridiculous and campy himself. I love his hounds.
Oh yeah, absolutely. Do you and he has like the villains that he surrounds himself with, which like Spiral being the first one there. I mean, are you a big fan of Spiral?
I am a big fan of Spiral. I would love to do like, it's not on my list of things to do, but if I could pop out a gender bent Spiral costume, that would definitely be a costume that I would want to do. I just don't know how to make all the arms happen.
So there was a cosplayer last year at New York Comic Con who did Spiral. We went up to speak to her. She had no idea who Spiral was, by the way. And I was just like, what is wrong with you? Like, why did you go to such extent to do a perfect Spiral? And I was like, okay, that's weird. But then we befriended each other on Instagram and we were talking, and she seemed to know who Spiral was. And then I was with Sean a couple weeks ago at New York Comic Con, and I saw her getting food, like cheeky tendies or something like that. I was like, oh my God, a Spiral from last year. Let me go say hi to her. And went up to her. I was like, oh my God, you were Spiral from last year on Power of X-Men. So great to see you again. And she gave me this cara de mierda. She just looked at me and she was here like, okay, and walked away. And I was like, unfollow, never talking to this person again. You are blocked. So what I'm trying to say is I'm pretty confident if this person was able to figure it out, you could figure out how to do the arms and do a perfect Spiral.
Yeah, I just don't know if I want to put that much time in the costume. But it's like a costume if I didn't have to spend so much time in and could get out quickly, I would do. I don't have a lot of other costumes, but I have quite a few costumes that are higher on the list.
You could get a big T-shirt and get two friends and like squeeze into it,
right?
And then just walk around the con all day together.
Oh, you know what'll be funny if you go to the extent of doing this gender bent Spiral and you get on the con floor and everyone's like, "What's up, forearm? What's up, forearm?" And you're like, "I'm Spiral. What the fuck is wrong with you people? I'm a gender bent Spiral."
Or they just start calling me a six-arm Spidey.
Oh yeah. Well, yeah. I'm sure people have done six-arm Spideys before. I'm new to the world of cosplaying. I've only been following cosplay for the last couple of years. You've never seen one? I want to say I have at like New York Comic Con or like at San Diego, but
there was at MCM this weekend a Spider-Man meetup that there must have been like 40 of them.
Okay.
All the different types of the Spider-Man from across the multiverse, but there was no six-armed one. There was a Spider-Ham, which was quite funny with a big
I love Spider-Ham.
Yeah, but no six-armed Spider-Man.
So, Luigi, wait, is there a favorite Mojo story that you have? Do you just love him from the animated series?
So, my favorite Mojo story is the beginning of the Excalibur run. Is there's like a special before they release Excalibur #1. There was a graphic novel, and it went into the Mojo verse and his hounds and his obsession with Rachel.
Yes. Wait, what was his obsession with Rachel? Tell us. I don't think I even know that.
I'm not sure what his obsession with Rachel is, but I know that he sent his hounds after her.
I mean, I'm sure it's the same obsession Sinister has with like Cyclops and Jean Grey. You're like, why do you have it specifically? I mean,
she's a Summers.
She's a Summers. That's it. It has to be.
Yeah.
And I'm sure, a lot of things with Rachel and Mojo, especially during that era, the seeds were planted that never really came into fruition. So you got a hint at something much more larger and much more nefarious, but it never really came into fruition. So if people from the X office are listening, you have your assignments for the next X-Men Legends issue. Thank you very much.
All right, moving on from Mojo then. Number 4 on the list. Who do you have?
Number 4, I have Psylocke in Captain Britain's, or the former Captain Britain's brother, Jamie Braddock.
I am so happy you put Jamie on this list. Why? Tell us why do you love Jamie Braddock so much? Why is he so deliciously evil?
He wears only a Speedo.
It's pretty hot. I remember when Alan Davis was drawing him during Uncanny X-Men, I had like the biggest boner for him back in like 2005.
Yeah, it definitely awakened something.
Was there like, so I'm less familiar with him. I can picture what he looks like. He's got like the mustache, right? And he's in like the white Speedo. Why is he only wearing a Speedo?
Because he's crazy.
He's crazy.
He cray.
I think that he could rival Scarlet Witch as far as reality warping.
So he resurrected Psylocke at that time of Uncanny X-Men, and
because he loves Psylocke, but he doesn't really care for his brother.
Yeah. Wait, he's part of the Omega level mutants on Krakoa. Now I'm trying to remember what his name is. It Anarchy or Monarch? I think his name now is Monarch on Krakoa. Let me go check. Let me fact check
he's
this.
He's got a name now.
Jamie Murdoch, Monarch, Marvel. I'm pretty sure it's Monarch now. But yeah, his powers rival that of Scarlet Witch, of White Phoenix. And so yeah, he's Monarch. His current alias is Monarch. And he has a crown.
His powers are so cool with the quantum strings and everything.
I've always said this. I think the Summers family gets a lot of attention in the comic books, but I would like them to focus on like the Braddock family. I would love them to focus on the Darkholm family. I would love them to like look at these different families and their dynamics, because Jamie, Brian, and Betsy are equally as fucked up.
Yeah.
Did you guys see there's a cosplayer called Jay Cosmic who did like a 30 days of Halloween cosplay challenge where every day there was like a different thing from a list, and he did him for one of the days. I'm trying to find which day he did it for, but yeah, he did the crazy Speedo look, and it's really
gonna have to check this out. Oh my god,
we love Jay Cosmic. I don't talk to him as much, but he did an Adam X. So the second he did an Adam X, he was like my favorite human ever.
Wow, he's doing those deep dives.
Yeah.
He is. He's a big old nerd. And what did he do? He was with Demanda Martini recently, and I think he did Quicksilver with Demanda Martini.
Yeah, that sounds familiar.
Yeah, I think he did Quicksilver with Demanda Martini. And he does, you know what, Luigi, you've seen him. He does a Havoc. He's really prominently known for his Havoc cosplays.
Is he an East Coaster or West Coaster?
He's Canadian.
Is he Canadian?
Oh, he's Canadian.
Yeah, he's Canadian.
But he's in like the Pacific Northwest, right? Canada. Like I think
he's in
like...
the like middle West Coast. Like he's in Alberta, I think.
Okay. I'm like geographically challenged. Oh, I'm thinking because I think he went to Seattle for a con.
Yeah,
met up with Demanda. Yeah. That's why I'm being thrown off there.
Yeah, so it'd be closer to that side of it.
I don't know who he is, but I definitely want to get to know his work.
You're gonna slide into his DMs and you're gonna be like, "What up, Jamie?" He's pretty cool. He's a good guy. Okay, who's next after Jamie? So we have Mojo, we have Jamie. Who's number 3 on your list?
Apocalypse.
Yeah,
classic.
What stories of Apocalypse in particular stick out for you?
Age of Apocalypse was a great run in the 90s.
Did you read it like when it was coming out, or was it something you discovered?
I read it when it was coming out.
Yeah, me too. Actually, like I've got all the original issues, something I'm very proud of.
That was one that I went to a comic store and I was able to collect the whole series, all the issues. So that one I had the complete series. So I started collecting comics like after the animated series came out, because it was the animated series that got me obsessed with the X-Men.
Yeah, I mean, same. I think for me it was the Fleer Ultra cards. That was sort of my gateway drug into
the Fleer Ultra cards.
Yeah, I love them so much. Those were like my gateway drugs. But then it was the action figures, then it was the animated series, and I think my first issue of collecting was that Rogue miniseries, that her very first ever Rogue miniseries. Like that was the first issue I ever bought on my own, and then I went back and started getting things. And I don't want to say that was during Age of Apocalypse, but it was close enough where I was confused by the whole Age of Apocalypse thing, and I pulled on that thread, and it snowballed into my obsession to where it is today.
Why you're a Nate Gray fan.
Luigi, the year was 2001. I had frosted tips. I was driving a silver Mustang. I was listening to Blink 182, and I was reading Nate Gray, the X-Men series. That was such a vibe. I miss that era so much.
Sounds very early 2000s. The Mustang, the frosted tips.
Y2K culture. I was waiting for
Yeah.
the world to end, but okay. So
Do you got-
Apocalypse, Age of Apocalypse. Sorry, Sean.
I was gonna say, do you remember about Apocalypse? It must have been the early 90s, because I would assume the first series of X-Men action figures came out. It must have been for the cartoon. But I remember, like the very first series had like Cyclops, Storm.
Yeah. And Apocalypse, like the very skinny Apocalypse.
And the very skinny Apocalypse it was either his arm would extend. And I remember in Canada, we used to have this company called Canadian Distributors, RIP, went bankrupt in the 90s, where it was basically a store where you had a catalog, and then you'd go to the store and you'd look in the catalog and you'd find the number of the item and you'd bring it to the desk, and then they'd go into like some back store to come get it. And Apocalypse was never available. And this is why he haunts me as a horrifying villain, is as a kid, over and over, week after week, I went to get this action figure and it was never available. Traumatized.
Bitch, go on eBay and buy for yourself now. You deserve it, and put it on your ugly mirror.
I think I eventually did get him at like a Toys R Us, probably eventually, but yeah, I remember it traumatized me for a very long time.
Apocalypse.
It's funny that you talk about that figure, because I also did not have that figure, but I had a neighbor across the street that had that figure, and I was very jealous. And yes, I wanted to steal it, but
but you're a good boy.
I was a good boy. Yeah. I didn't, but it definitely crossed my mind. Like, oh, he wouldn't miss it.
He was from what I remember, he was a peg warmer back in the day in Miami, in Florida. He's $12.99 on eBay, guys. Go resolve these childhood traumas. Just go buy it.
I mean, I have the Marvel Legends now, so
yeah, I love the Marvel Legends. Oh gosh, we can talk all day about Marvel Legends, especially with Apocalypse, but Apocalypse was always one of those villains that I think when you knew he was coming, something major was happening. And Cyclops, I remember the 12 as it was being published, and Cyclops was profoundly affected by that possession, and it carried through New X-Men, and that was such a hallmark of Cyclops during that era, and what gave rise to his relationship with Emma, because it really humanized Cyclops at a time when Jean was becoming a god. So I quite enjoy the Apocalypse storylines when they rear their heads in the books. Although I don't like what's going on with him and Krakoa now. I'm definitely not a fan of the Krakoan Apocalypse.
Just give it time; they'll turn him bad again. he'll be back to being. Yeah,
Apocalypse can't be a good guy.
Yeah.
What I love about Apocalypse is that he's supposed to be emblematic of survival of the fittest, and I think that's sort of been lost in the Krakoan age. So yes, I agree. Give him time; he'll go back to his roots.
All right, there's two more on the list. Now we're up to like silver medal. So who is taking the number 2 spot?
So number 2 would be Magneto.
Right.
The most basic X-Men villain, but gotta love him. Love him as a villain. I as a good guy too, he's great. But yeah, I think one of the most shocking stories was when he ripped out Wolverine's
Fatal Attractions.
Skeleton. Yeah. When I was a kid reading Fatal Attractions, I was like, ooh.
And that gave rise to my favorite version of Wolverine, which is Feral Wolverine.
You and Feral Wolverine,
I have such a boner for Feral Wolverine. Shut the fuck up. I just want a Marvel Legends Feral Wolverine. And I'm hoping we're gonna get it next year for the 50th anniversary releases for Wolverine.
It'll come out eventually.
Flink and I were having a debate on what color his bandana should be, because the Toy Biz Feral figure that they released during the Onslaught wave had accidentally a red bandana on it when it's supposed to be blue. So
yeah, it's blue.
Yeah, thank you. There we go. So he was like, it's red. I'm like, it's blue. And we literally had to Google it and find out where he thought it was a red bandana. And it all originated with this prototype for the Feral Wolverine Toy Biz figure, which the final version was blue, but it was that promo image that threw him off.
That's a deep cut.
Sean's like, I think I need to get a glass of wine after that conversation there. But I think Magneto always has like really great stories. How do you feel about him with Rogue, though? Do you like him with Rogue?
No,
No,
no.
really?
No.
Not even Savage Land.
No, not Savage Land, not AOA.
Okay.
Rogue.
So who do you want him with?
With Cyclops.
Fair.
That's a really good and yeah. Yeah, well, oh my God, in the utopian era where Magneto comes to see Cyclops and you're like, I just came to bow down before our new leader. I was like, yes, like I can totally ship this, and it's a Greg Land art, which is always like very sexual. So yeah, okay, that was a great response, Luigi. Luigi, you're invited back on the podcast anytime after that response.
So I'm curious then. Magneto takes number 2, Apocalypse number 3. You've got some big heavy hitters that are not in first place. So who is your number 1?
Who's number 1? Who's number 1?
The Goblin Queen.
Yes, Madeline fucking Pryor. What's there not to love?
Yes, nothing. The Inferno crossover is like one of the things that I think like solidified my obsession with the X-Men comics. And it was one of those that did come out after I started collecting, but it was like my mission to collect every issue of Inferno, which like I don't think I actually was able to do till like the mid 2000s through like eBay and whatnot. But before, I'd always be going to like different comic stores looking for Inferno issues. But I just love her tragic story, and you know, she was fucked over by Cyclops, and then she released her revenge on the world.
So first of all, I agree wholeheartedly with you. I think what makes Madeline such a wonderful ex-villain is the tragedy behind her, that she thought she was someone and she realizes she's a clone, and
yes.
her husband left her to go back with the person she's cloned from, and then her baby is being raised. Like it is a nightmare situation. I will say though, I defend Cyclops in all of this too, because Sinister was stalking Cyclops since he was a little boy in an orphanage. Sinister stole a genetic sample from Jean Grey without her consent. Sinister cloned Madeline. So Sinister is the fucktard that has fucked over all 3 of these people. And I think Madeline is so 100% in the right to be angry, and I love that about her story.
Yeah.
Sorry. Sorry. The one is hitting me now.
Well, I think the best villains always have to have at least a bit of understanding of where they're coming from, right? Because if you can't empathize at all with them, they're just really difficult to connect with in any capacity. So I think, like, you make a good point. She has so much stuff that happened that you're like, oh, I could see, I could turn into a supervillain if that stuff happened to me.
If I found out later that I was the clone of myself and my husband dumped me for the real version, I would be kind of crazy too.
I don't know. I'd be like, just get me in like a timeshare somewhere in like Captiva Island and call it a life. Sorry. No. Sorry, Sean, what were you saying?
You get that revenge body and then you make him feel bad that he went back and not take the clone. That's
but you know, it's the obsession with the Summers family.
Yeah.
Oh, but you don't need a revenge body. I mean, your cosplay, Luigi, like, is everywhere, and you look absolutely incredible in all the cosplay you do.
Thank you so much.
You need to be doing like a Goblin Prince.
I have done a Goblin Prince.
Shut the fuck up. We were just talking about this. Yeah. We've said we've never seen anyone do a Goblin Prince.
I did do a Goblin Prince, and I had a photo shoot with a friend that was the Goblin Queen. And it was just
is this when you dyed your hair blonde and in that month or two you just did all of them?
that time period.
Luigi has a spreadsheet and he's just like all the blonde characters checking them off.
Yeah.
How come they never saw the light of day?
So the photographer, like, so actually, my friend was the one who paid this photographer to shoot this Goblin Queen thing, and she's like, "I want you to be my Alex," and I was like, "I'm totally down." So we did this photo shoot, and he just like ghosted, and because we even rented a studio for the photo shoot and stuff, and we just never got the pictures back. And I'm
you've never seen them.
Never seen them. And I was so upset because I like knowing that I was doing this, I was like dieting, doing extra gym for 2 weeks to look good in this Goblin Prince outfit. And yeah, we don't have the photos. So I did do it. But is there evidence out there? Not really.
Not even like a selfie on your own phone or anything.
Oh, I have. I think I have some selfies.
Oh my God, give them to Power of X-Men, an exclusive
Yeah,
reveal.
an exclusive reveal.
Exclusive. Luigi does Goblin Prince, photos from years ago. That is upsetting. Give me the name of that photographer. I'm tracking him down. I'm taking his camera. I mean, obviously, when things like that happen, because I had an issue with my wedding photos, and the photographer ghosted us, and I was like, "What the fuck, man? If you just do a share drive and drop, I just want the photos. You don't have to edit them, nothing.
Yeah.
Just drop them there."
Well, that's what we said too. Like,
Yeah.
we'll do the editing. You don't have to edit, because he would do these like fancy backgrounds and whatever, and we're like, you don't have to edit it. Like, if it's not on your priority list, you don't
That's
have
fine.
to edit
We
it.
get it.
Just we can just use the photos as is. And we just didn't get them back. So
I am furious for you. We're gonna go after this photographer. Like,
and
watch out.
but that was like pre-pandemic, so it's been a while.
Okay, well, that's fine. We'll get those discs.
There's only one solution: dye your hair blonde and redo it.
Well, you know, I might have to make a blonde appearance again for WonderCon. Let's make some plans for WonderCon.
Are you going to WonderCon?
Well, it's in my backyard, so I feel like I have to go to WonderCon.
Wait, but you weren't there last year.
I had COVID.
Oh, you had COVID? I'm like, bitch, where were you last year? Okay.
I was supposed to go, but I had COVID.
Okay, I think I remember you telling me you couldn't make it. I don't remember what the reason was. Okay.
Yeah, COVID. I was like, just I got sick 3 days before the con, and it was like a pretty bad. I was sick for a week.
Oh no. Okay. Did you have like new builds that you had made just for WonderCon, or were you kind of just going into the archive? And
I was going to the archives. Since like the pandemic, I've been kind of lazy, unmotivated. I've done a lot of characters that I love already. So trying to find characters that I am passionate enough to like spend a lot of time on the costume. Hasn't been there yet, but I'm starting to feel that spark again.
I mean, you have to. You need to bless the internet.
Yeah. But I get like for when you're building a new cosplay, like, you know, it's time, it's money, it's effort. So unless you really like the character, it is a big investment of all those kind of resources.
Yeah.
And then, you know, if you've only got so many characters that you actually like deeply love, like I agree, like sometimes you go like, okay, well, I've kind of done ones that I really like. I don't really want to spend hundreds of pounds making a mediocre character that I don't really connect with. So,
right, you want to be characters you love.
Yeah,
I just can't. I end up spending way too much time on every costume I do, because like I feel like I often get bogged down in the details, because I'm like, oh, there's this little detail on this costume that literally no one's going to notice, but I just have to like get it done in that way. And so oftentimes I do spend too much time, and then I'm like, maybe if I just like was like, oh, I can cut corners here and cut corners there, because this costume I don't really care about.
Okay,
so this
as much.
Okay.
So this year, then 2024, do you already have a lineup of what you're planning to do?
So yes, I want to do. I have yet. So this is one character that I am passionate about, and I do want to do. Is I have not done Magneto yet.
Oh, wait. So, which version of Magneto?
I think I'm going to start. Yeah, this classic Magneto. But I already have plans to, if I do classic, to shift the costume a little bit to make the AOA version too.
Stop it. I would love to see that AOA version of Magneto. Please do it.
Yes, it's on the top of the list.
Yes. Okay, so if you do it for WonderCon, I'm going to be Nate, and Sean's going to be Captain Marvel. We could just rock like these big powerhouses there at WonderCon.
Well, you're definitely motivating me. So
But that's only one. So I know WonderCon's what, 2, 3 days?
yeah. So I have a um do you know Jamie? I think Jamie FX on IG. He does like X-Men fan art.
Mhm.
Yes, yes. I think the name sounds
He
familiar.
has he
I'll
did
Google
this
now.
version of Gambit
Mhm.
that I love. So I think I actually commissioned a guy to do to do the bodysuit pattern, but I just have to have the suit printed.
Hang on,
But I
I'm
want
going
to
Okay.
to
do his.
Jamie's Instagram page. But he does such wonderful builds. Or excuse me,
Yes,
sketches.
So very X-Men heavy then this year.
very X-Men heavy. And then I think like a version of Nightwing that I haven't done.
Ooh.
Oh, we love Nightwing. We're big Dick Grayson fans here.
Yes, same.
Well, I'm a Jason Todd fan, but sure.
Oh, I'm sorry. I'm sorry. Sean is a big Jason Todd fan.
Yeah. Which is so disappointing because I brought it to New York Comic Con and then I left the con after like an hour.
Someone was
And
Well,
hungover. Someone was
yeah.
hungover. Someone thought he could party with me.
Yeah.
how late did you
Days
guys stay out?
Oh, not late. It wasn't like we just started too early is the problem. And Dayspring has like a hollow leg that well actually it's not even a hollow leg. He orders water telling you that it's something else, and then you order and then he orders you a real drink. So you think that you're drinking at the same pace, and he's like tricked you with
I
witchcraft.
I can't be the lightweight who goes home. Do
I
you know how
Yeah.
embarrassing that would be?
I've spent one night with him at a bar, so I think I know. I think I know what you're talking about.
Yeah. But in my defense, Scott Free also left the con with me at the same time because he was hungover also. So you know what? I'm not the only one that succumbed to your
Bitch,
pace of
no. We went to Soho House and you were like, let's get another round. Let's get another round.
yeah.
Let's get another round. And I was like, that was one crazy time at Soho House. Said no one on the planet, but we had a good time. Wait, so we're talking all about your future cosplay and stuff like that. But Luigi, because you're one of the OG cosplayers on Instagram, I feel like even before I was officially part of like the X-Men community, people were always sending me your cosplay. Like people who don't even read comics and they're like, look at this hot guy. He's, Rogue,
Oh.
he's Nightwing, he's Robin. How did you get started in cosplaying? Is that something that happened very early on for you, or is it something that came later in life?
It is something that came a little bit later in life because we went to a convention where we weren't cosplaying, and I saw all these people cosplaying, and I'm like, oh, this looks like these look like my people. I want to do this. So I just started cosplaying, but I was always really into Halloween, and I would always like spend a lot of time on my Halloween costume.
Do you know what? I feel like cosplay is like the same origin story as like drag queens when they're like, I first did it on Halloween and then it took over my regular life. And then
Yeah,
before you know it, you've got 800 costumes in your closet. And
exactly. And now Halloween, it's like I want to do something really chill for Halloween
yeah.
because I'm
What
like,
what
no,
did you do
my best costumes come out for the conventions, and they're always uncomfortable. So I want something comfortable for Halloween.
Yeah, you want something you can pee in for Halloween.
Yes, yes,
What? Well, I mean, it's a practical thing. Like, if you're out at a bar, you're out dancing, you don't want like a con costume where you need like a 10-minute like unzipping, undoing, like,
and for me, I never do the zipper at the crotch, except for Cyclops. I did end up cutting a hole because he wears the underwear, which
yeah.
and so you can just
Yeah.
maneuver. Yeah.
So, who was your first cosplay then? Do you remember? Take us to the first con you did. What was the costume? Where were you?
Yeah, give us the details. Luigi's
So
first cosplay.
it was Walking Dead. I
Okay.
loved the
Oh, wow.
show, and I did Rick Grimes, the
Oh, you would be a
season
perfect
one
Rick.
season one police officer, Rick Grimes. I did that, and you know, when you do your first con and you meet people and they're like, "Oh my god, I love your costume," you just kind of get that high and you want it again. So I was
Nom
like, "Yeah,
nom.
Nom
I
nom
really
nom.
like
No, no, no. Give
Walking
a gay a
Dead."
compliment. You'll love it. Sorry.
And then I think after that I did Gambit.
Oh, okay. Yeah, your Gambit is legendary. That's a really good Gambit that you did.
Yeah.
So of
So
all the,
oh, go ahead.
would you say Gambit's your favorite X-Men cosplay? Or I know you've done Rogue quite a bit. It's one of the ones you're quite known for.
I would say Gambit, Cyclops, and Rogue are up there, but I think my Cyclops might be retired.
Why?
Well, because we have such a good Cyclops.
I know. There
You
we
know?
go.
Way.
He's a pretty good Cyclops. We
Yeah,
were at New York
yeah.
Comic Con. People were like, Cyclops. And then you were just at MCM and you got such great content with Chris. So you
Yeah.
are good. But
Yeah,
there's room for two Cyclopses, though.
No, of course, but your friend did a really good Cable too.
Yeah. Yeah, he's fantastic.
Yeah,
And
you guys
it
look
helps.
so good together.
Yeah, it helps when you have matching costumes. They're both bright costumes. It's easy to spot. So, you know, yeah, it's a good one for anybody who's new in cosplay. Pick a bright character. It's just a very easy way to get spotted.
Yes, bright characters.
So, Luigi, how would you describe your cosplay?
I would definitely heavy X-Men, heavy on the comic side, and then video games, some pop culture.
Are you a good Are you like a Castlevania fan?
I am a Castlevania fan, and that is another plan I have for
Yeah,
WonderCon.
because I feel like you'd make a really good either like Richter from the new one or Simon.
Yeah, I want to do Richter. That's top of my list. I'm planning on making that costume after Halloween.
Oh,
What are you going as for Halloween?
Actually, I'm going to Halloween Horror Nights tomorrow, so I don't think we can dress up. So I'm actually not going to be wearing a costume on Halloween.
Oh, and did you go out this weekend then?
I did. I was My Melody from Sanrio. You know Hello Kitty?
yes, yes, yes. I don't know.
Yes.
I can't envision the character though.
She's a bunny with pink ears, and I did like high school stereotype jock version of My Melody.
Yes. Oh, I love that mashup.
Yeah.
Wait,
I have no idea the character, so I'm just going to nod. And go like,
Just
cool.
Wait, you went to my brother's Halloween party. What were you?
I
who
did.
were you there for? Like,
I
did you cosplay
I
as?
was just a vampire.
I love that. And Ryan was Bride of Frankenstein
Yes.
with an
He was
Ariana
amazing.
Grande high pony. Do you follow my brother Sean?
I don't know actually. I will if I don't.
He goes all out for Halloween, and I wanted to try to pop in for it, but I had a gig that weekend.
Well, West Hollywood is to me the most fun. That and New York are the two best places to do Halloween, and we have. I think we've flown 3 times from London to West Hollywood for Halloween, because it's just such a fun weekend.
It is so much fun. It's going to be on a Tuesday this year, so I don't know if it's going to be a little bit more on the quieter side.
Mm-hmm.
But
it'll still be great. It'll still be great though.
Do they still close Santa Monica Boulevard? Because I know last year they didn't.
That's the thing. I don't know if they're going to this year because it's a Tuesday, so I don't know. I know when it does get closer to the weekend, they'll close the boulevard. I'm sure.
Yeah. Well, any listeners, if you have the opportunity to get to West Hollywood for Halloween,
yes,
it is a good time.
So what about London? They don't have any.
Yeah, what's up with London? Jeez.
So it's getting more popular, definitely, than when I moved here from Canada. So Canada, like America, it's the weekend of Halloween. If you go out to a bar or club, everybody's in costume, everybody puts the effort. I moved here in 2014 and we went to a big club and I went as Venom and I had like black leggings, and I did entire body paint on my upper half, like the symbiote kind of taking over. And we arrive at the club, and there's maybe 20% of people in costume. And by costume, I mean like a little bit of blood on the side of their face, or maybe like some devil horns. And I'm like full, 3 hours of body paint. Yeah, it was a little overdone.
You're like Lindsay Lohan in Mean Girls.
Yeah, it was exactly that. So it's not like you can find okay parties, but it's not the same, I think, level of effort that people do in North America. So that's why I try to drag my British friends back to America or Canada for Halloween when we can.
It's my favorite season of the year.
I love fall. I love Halloween.
Yeah. Speaking of more cosplay, because that's what people, I'm sure, really want to hear about from you and are tuning into here. Have you ever done a cosplay you hated, and like you built it, you did it, and you like not because the photographer lost the photos, but because you intentionally were like, I hate this, I'm never wearing it again.
I love that cosplay. I would love to get the photos. So
do you still have the costume?
Just give us his handle and his cross streets, and we'll get it for you.
No, I don't have the costume anymore because it was just like black fabric,
it's a piece of fabric
ripped in rags that was like basically taped on me. It was like really it was just a piece of fabric. But the costume that I did an Overwatch character, McCree, and I don't play the game at all. It was for a group. And I don't play the game at all. And so I really didn't enjoy doing the character, and I did it for BlizzCon, which is like also in my backyard. It's happening this weekend actually. And I just don't play the game. So also people are asking me things, and I'm like, I don't know. I don't know this character. I'm just here for the group. So that was a cosplay that I did that I didn't love. But most of the cosplays I do, I think I love them. I love like all of my cosplays.
Well, it's
Oh,
good.
I love that. Well, you always look at, and I think that's part of your success as a cosplayer, why so many of us have gravitated to you on Instagram, is because you can tell there's not only talent there, but also a lot of passion. And that's why, like with you and Hammy, there's a reason why you guys have been doing this for years, and why people sort of congregate around you guys, because it puts a smile on my face when I see a Luigi cosplay popping up on my feed.
Oh.
You're welcome. That's the only compliment I'm giving you now.
But is there a cosplay that you've done that you don't?
Oh, look at Luigi turning the tables on you. Look at that.
Is there one? No, I think like you, I've done only characters that I really love. I would say not that I didn't like it, but I did a Captain Planet one, and it's just hard to do because the makeup's really quite difficult to get right. So I didn't think that through. That like I did actually last year for Halloween in West Hollywood, and I had a makeup artist do it, and then afterwards I was like, oh, I can never really redo this myself because I don't have the skills to do this type of makeup, and I'm going to look pretty janky probably if I do it myself. So I think that's probably the one that I invested in building, and then and it was Halloween, and we were drinking, and I really didn't think of it, and I took like maybe 1 or 2 decent pictures, and I was like, well, there you go, that was it. I could never redo it. So yeah, I don't know. But I loved it, and I love Captain Planet, and I would love to redo him, but I just don't know if I can do it without better makeup skills.
The worst is when you do a cosplay that's like difficult to wear, or that costume might only last one wearing, and you don't really take any pictures.
Yeah. Or you take 100 and you realize that only like 2 are good, and you're like, oh.
Yeah.
No.
I love that you were Captain Planet. We could do for WonderCon, you can be Captain Planet again, and we'll be your Planeteers.
If you do need any people in California that do makeup, I know quite a few. If you did decide to do that.
Well, I am planning to come to WonderCon, so who knows? Who knows if I'll bust him out? But the other thing, just I was surprised that a lot of people didn't know who he was, which I think
who doesn't know who Captain Planet is?
I think quite a few. Like I was shocked.
Okay, these Zillennial twinks don't know, but like everyone else knows.
I mean, you should know. I think like he's one of the greatest superheroes. So anybody who doesn't know him, it's a bloody shame. So
Wait, who's your favorite Planeteer? I don't know this about you. And you too, Luigi. Who's your favorite Planeteer?
so I loved Wheeler. Like,
Of
I don't know,
course.
as like a kid, I thought he was cute and like
Oh,
had a
we
crush
all
on
had a
him.
crush on Wheeler. I loved Linka. I was obsessed with Linka. Although I think as an adult, I'm probably Monty, which, the power of heart, I didn't really like. But at the time, I like it now. But I was obsessed with Linka and trying to track down her action figure because she was not released in that first wave of Captain Planet action figures, even though she was promoted, her and Guy. So,
What I love is like as a kid, everybody like if you watched the show and you were playing with your friends, no one wanted to be Mati and no one wanted Heart, but as an adult, you realize it's probably the strongest ring to have to like
Yeah.
mind control
Yeah.
people.
oh my God, his name is Monty, and I called him Monty. Sorry. We'll blame that on the wine.
Yeah, for me it was Linka.
Yeah.
Wind.
Wind. I loved her so much and her romance with Wheeler. I was obsessed. And Margot Kidder did the voice of Gaia, the spirit of the earth. Could no longer stand the terrible destruction plaguing our planet. Loved
Didn't
her.
Whoopi Goldberg do the
Yeah,
voice of-
after Margot Kidder was like,
Oh.
I'm out, peace. And then Whoopi Goldberg did it. So that's incredible that both of them sound the same and they're very different actors.
So Luigi, any advice given that you're one of the OG cosplayers?
The OG.
Oh,
Yeah.
gee. You're like
I've
the
been
Paris
doing it
Hilton.
for a while.
No,
Um,
you're the Paris Hilton of cosplayers.
What advice do you have to anybody who is sitting there at home listening to you now, looking at your Instagram and going, "Oh, I want to do that." What would you say?
So, one, if you've never been to a convention, I would say go to a convention if you're like really nervous about wearing a cosplay and you're not ready to do it. Go to a convention and see what other people are doing, and I think it would give you confidence. If you're already there that you want to do, dress in a cosplay. I would say for your like first one, just have fun with it. Don't stress out too much about the details. Unless you're like me and it's something that excites you. But just you can always like improve that cosplay later. So just have fun with it.
That's advice for anyone who's afraid to do something. Just go ahead, jump, and do it, and then you can improve on it later.
Yeah.
You can revise later. I'm sorry.
Go to a convention and wear one of your Halloween costumes.
Yeah.
Like no one's really gonna judge you.
And I think, like you said about the one you hated, something that I realized quite quickly is if you don't know anything about the character you're playing, be prepared for a lot of questions because you get a lot of people that will come up and either ask you questions about the character, they'll talk to you like you are the character, like especially like kids and stuff like that. So you just got to be ready, I think, for some of that interaction and kind of expect it.
And I mean, you can fake it a little bit too. I have before.
When you have someone crazy coming up to you being like, excuse me, can you please explain what's going on with Gambit in issue number 84? And you're like,
a wizard did it. A wizard did it.
A wizard did it.
I actually cosplayed Nathan Drake from Uncharted before I played any of the games because I just had people tell me, you got to cosplay Nathan Drake. So I was like, yeah, he's a pretty easy cosplay to do. So I did
That's
it.
a Tom Holland character, right? Okay.
Yeah. Not the Tom Holland version, though, the game version. And through doing it, though, I played the games and ended up really loving the games and loving the character. So that was pretty cool. But I probably would have never played the games if I didn't cosplay the character.
I love that was a gateway for you to start playing video games and that cosplaying, even being a character you're not so aware of, you can do the cosplay for and then be so enchanted by the character that you want to go seek out information on him.
I've met several people in the X-Men community that love the design of an X-Men character and then have gotten into X-Men comics or TV or movies, whatnot, through cosplay.
I love that.
I love that. Cons, can people spot you at in the next coming months?
Well, I will definitely be at WonderCon.
Yes, we will be too.
Yeah. WonderCon's, I think, the only one on my list right now, but as the year progresses, I'm sure
New York Comic Con 2024.
New York Comic Con 2024. I mean, I would love to go back to New York. I went to New York Comic Con one time, and it was amazing. Amazing place to cosplay.
I agree. I love New York Comic Con, obviously. Wait, are you not doing LA Comic Con?
Oh, yes, I am doing LA Comic Con.
I'm only asking
That's what
because I think I can pull off LA Comic Con now.
Oh, you're
Yes.
going. I have
I
FOMO.
think I'm going to be doing LA Comic Con. Originally, I was going to be going to Japan, but those plans have fell through. So I think I'm going to be going to LA Comic Con instead now.
Yeah, I had a hold for a gig and that fell through, and it's my birthday weekend, and it's Ryan's birthday, my brother's birthday weekend as well. So I figured let's go to LA and let's do it. So Luigi, let's get into your origin story. We've talked about your cosplay, we've talked about like your spooky takes, but how did you get into comics?
How I got into comics was the X-Men animated series that brought me to comics because I loved the show, and I think it was the Jim Lee era, so all of comic book stores were just popping up like around the neighborhood. It was like one of the best times to be alive. There's just like comic book shop on every corner,
Oh, I
and
know. And you saw all those 90s costumes everywhere. There was like Jim Lee
yeah,
fever everywhere. Did you have that in Canada, Sean?
Yeah, I mean, I think like in the town I grew up in, there was definitely a comic book store. There was, I think I can remember like at least three within driving distance. And it was one of those things that, it'd be a Saturday and I'd get my dad to drive me. And if they didn't have what I wanted, I'd be like, bring me to the next one and bring me to the next one. So yeah, I remember like, and I think with the Flare Ultra cards too, it was a time where, yeah, it was a good time for all of us millennial geeks to get into it, wasn't it?
Oh, it was so great. And all right, is there a particular episode you remember from the X-Men animated series?
well, my favorite, which I probably rewatch once a year, is the Dark Phoenix saga because I just think it's like the best visual other than the comic for that story.
It's a faithful adaptation, with the exception of the
Yeah.
ending, obviously, but they
Yeah.
did well with the ending. And I forget, we did a panel at San Diego Comic Con, and we asked Larry Houston and Lee Waltz why they went with that ending, or when did they know they couldn't kill Jean because of Saturday morning, regulations.
Yeah.
And I'm forgetting what they said, but they just thought that was like the most organic choice. If they weren't going to be able to kill her, just be able to bring her back to life on the spot like that.
And do you have another, like, other than the X-Men, do you have a favorite comic character that you resonate with?
Yes, I love the Bat Family, Robin, Dick Grayson.
Yeah.
Started with the Robin I started with was Jason Todd. Had the comic where he was killed by the Joker.
Mm-hmm. Did you vote in the 90s?
Did you
I
call
didn't
that
vote.
1-800 number?
I think I was too young to vote, so I didn't vote. But yeah, I was it was a good comic.
Yeah, it's one of the saddest comics, I think.
Wait, how did you feel when he came back to life when he was revealed to be Red Hood?
I'm so used to him now, so like I like him as a character now, but at the time I was like, no, he should stay dead. It was, but uh now I appreciate the character a lot and I like the whole dynamic of the Bat Family, Red Hood, Nightwing.
Put
I
them in
love the
order.
Bat Family. Rank them, rank them, rank them.
Rank them. Contentious
Rank them.
question.
We're putting you on the spot.
Okay, so it's gonna be Dick Grayson,
Yeah.
Jason Todd, Tim Drake, Barbara, Stephanie, Damien.
I love Stephanie so much. Stephanie Brown is one of my favorite characters out there. Wait, so Dick Grayson is number one for you. What is it about Dick Grayson that why does he resonate with you?
I don't know. He kind of has like that, like kind of heart of gold, sweet older brother vibe, and I'm an older brother, so I just kind of related to him.
I get that older brother vibe quite a bit.
Yeah.
I love Dick Grayson. I've always loved. I think Dick's story is always like the most interesting because in so many ways he's supposed to be the successor for Batman, yet he's the one who has the most complicated relationship with Batman, all of them. He understands Bruce the best. He's the one who's most resentful to Bruce, and yet he's the first one to be present for family dinner. And I just think the character's evolution from Robin, even though I love him as Robin, I adore him as Nightwing. And was it Morrison when they wrote Dick and Damian as Batman and Robin, and I love that entire era. And then we got the return of Bruce Wayne.
Yeah,
it was fun. I think Dick gets really great stories. Dick gets good stories.
Yeah,
and he has the best ass in comics. So
I mean, yes. I mean, and by the way, your Dick Grayson, perfect. Chef's kiss on that. You nail the cosplay up to the ass as well.
Thank you.
Do you have a favorite X character then? We've gone broad.
Favorite X character. It is Shadowcats.
Yeah,
with a K. So
Jesus,
hear me out. Hear me out.
Let me pour myself another glass of wine, dude. I had the biggest crush on you until this moment, and now we're done. Yeah. How do I mute him? How do we mute him here? How do we? You might as well have just said beast.
The reason why she's my favorite character is I really gravitated towards Excalibur. I was like also kind of like a Britophile or
like an Anglophile, yeah,
Anglophile, yeah. So I loved Excalibur. It was like the mutants in England, and I just thought the story of well, actually, like my favorite character would be between her and Nightcrawler because they were both in in this new country and kind of like just mourning because they thought the X-Men died, and it's just a really like sweet dynamic. And I remember like as a kid, there was a few issues where she was sent to a boarding school by the other members of Excalibur because she was like being a brat.
I mean, it's Shadowcat with a K, of course. Ship her off.
So and she had like bullies at the boarding school and stuff, and then she kind of came out ahead and like beat them up and stuff, and I thought that was really cool, and I really related to that during that time in school. So that's why I have that connection with her. As far as like the way that she's written after Excalibur, I cannot say I'm a big fan, but I'll always have that like special place in my heart for that time period. But the helmet, the Kate to Shadowcat with a K and all that. I'm not the biggest like fan, but
Kate smack. I think Shadowcat, unfortunately, is one of those characters that she's at the mercy of whatever the writer wants her to be, and that's sort of my larger criticism with the character. I think her coming up in the X books in the 80s and joining Excalibur, even through Astonishing X-Men, I think the character is solid. I'm very happy with it.
Yeah.
But then she becomes headmistress Kitty with the let me speak to your manager haircut. She becomes a space pirate. She becomes a regular pirate. She becomes Shadowcat with a K. The character just has so many different incarnations that it's sort of hard to put your finger on who she's supposed to be. In one instance, she's the leader of the X-Men. The next one, she's an ingenue.
Yeah, and I like the Shadowcat for me that I related to was the Shadowcat that was really unsure of her place in the world and unsure of herself.
And I love that.
Then the new Shadowcat, not the biggest fan of.
But did you like Pride of the X-Men? You must have loved Pride of the X-Men because she and Nightcrawler had so many scenes together, and I think that also laid the foundation for a whole generation of fans.
I mean, I didn't watch Pride of the X-Men until a lot later because I wasn't able to get a copy of it. But when I did watch it, I did appreciate that relationship between the two. And I think that's why like a lot of younger people that maybe have gotten into X-Men during that time period have Kitty Pryde as a favorite because of that. I feel like we were supposed to relate to her because she was the young one. She was the, tagging along with the adults. But I mean, technically they're all in their like 20s, right?
Wait, did you
Aren't we all? Aren't we all on that X-Men
Yes.
sliding time scale of age?
or the resurrection? We can resurrect at whatever age we want. Did you watch X-Men Evolution? What did you think of them in X-Men Evolution?
I did not watch X-Men Evolution.
Yeah,
I did
X-Men
not watch
Evolution.
it.
We're probably all three around the same like age range here. And X-Men Evolution probably came out just when we were just done with watching
Yeah.
those cartoons. And even though I've watched it, it's not terrible, but you had to be there to watch it. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Yeah. I have a lot of friends that their X-Men period was X-Men Evolution. And they didn't watch the animated series. And I was like, oh, it's a very different, because they'd be like, oh, I love Kitty Pryde too. And I love this about her. And like, and I was like, that does not sound like the Kitty Pryde that I know, but
I mean, she was Valley again. I mean, Kitty just morphed so much throughout the ages. She
Yeah.
was Valley Girl Kitty. She was a Star Lord Kitty. She's everything. Wait, okay. So before we ask you for some hot takes, let me ask you a really quick lightning round of questions here. Favorite X-Men writer, artist, and arc. So those three. Who is your favorite X-Men writer, artist, and best X-Men arc?
Chris Claremont.
Of course. Classic. I mean, we love Daddy Claremont.
Yes. So best writer, what was the next one?
And
The
best artist and best arc.
Inferno.
Yes,
Yeah.
Inferno. I mean, it's so good.
And the best artist. I mean, I'm gonna have to go with. I know it's like basic, but I gotta go with Jim Lee because that's
No.
just what got me. That's what got me into
Yeah.
it all. And I love the over the top 90s designs of the costumes and everything. And that, like, whenever I go to a cosplay myself, I want to do that like bright, colorful costume.
I think Jim Lee, I'm forgetting if David Nakayama or someone else on the podcast said this, or I read it somewhere. The art that we were getting from Jim Lee in the early 90s, it was just not art we were getting anywhere else. And it was just like the positioning in the bodies. It was cool. It was sexy. It was powerful. It was expressive. It was just a melting pot of so many different qualities for the art that I can see why Jim Lee has endured, why Jim Lee speaks to so many of us.
But I will say that if it wasn't Jim Lee, and I just don't know if he did that many. I know he's done some X-Men issues, but I don't know if you consider him an X-Men artist. But I love Alan Davis.
Oh yeah, well, Kitty, the Alan Davis hair. We always talk about Kitty's Alan Davis's hair.
Yes. I only like Kitty with the Alan Davis hair. That was it.
Okay, so Sean was at MCM back in May, and I was supposed to go, and I had a list of everyone I wanted to hit, but I couldn't go because we were doing plumbing. And I was like, you have to hit Alan Davis. And Sean wasn't able to get to Alan Davis because that is like the Jim Lee of the UK there.
Yeah.
I mean, of course, it's like it's impossible to get to, but I was ambitious that we were going to be able to talk to Alan Davis, and I would have died.
The lineup was very long, and I was with friends that were not willing to wait. So,
For me, it would be like Art Adams, like Jim Lee, Art Adams, and Alan Davis. That trifecta there. And we saw, Sean, we saw Art Adams at New York Comic Con. I flipped out. I was like, I'm going to go talk to him. And like 10 minutes later, I was back. I was like, okay, I talked to him. I'm happy now with my life.
Well, I would say if you are really into meeting like the artists, New York Comic Con is the con to go to, I think, because the artist alley there is just so fantastic.
I don't think Alan Davis was there. I think Alan Davis only does like MCM.
He does San Diego Comic Con. He has done it a few times. He was there when I did San Diego Comic Con, and he didn't really have a line. I did talk to him a little bit.
I cannot believe we live in a world where Alan Davis does not have a line at San Diego Comic Con.
He did not.
What did you ask him?
I just asked him about Excalibur and just told him that I loved his work. He did have like someone waiting on a commission, so I didn't want to take up too much of his time.
I would have sat right next to him and be like,
he didn't have any. Disappointingly, he didn't have any prints for sale, so he was just doing a few commissions, and he wasn't there. It was like he was there for a time slot, so he wasn't there. He didn't have like a booth where he was there all day.
Okay. All right. Well, Alan Davis at San Diego Comic-Con, we know what we're doing this summer or next summer.
Yeah.
We're just going to be hitting him up. Okay. So let's ask you some of your hot takes. I'm going to kick it over to Sean for the first hot take.
All right. So don't think too long about these. Just go with whatever's in your heart.
Okay.
Answer quickly. Who is the hottest Summers brother?
That would be Scott Cyclops.
Wrong. It's supposed to be Adam X. What's wrong with you, Luigi?
Is he considered an actual brother?
He is.
He isn't, but you need to indulge Day Spring if you want to come on the podcast.
He is. X-Men Legends confirms that he is one of the brothers by Catherine, not by Corsair, but by Catherine. But Cyclops is hot. That's the only reason why I'm talking to Sean, because some Cyclops cosplayer messaged me last year. I was like, "Ooh, who's this?" And now it's my best friend. It's my BFF.
So moving on,
There's something special about those Cyclops cosplayers.
It just hits different. All right, next one. Nate Gray and Madeline Pryor, soulmates or weird?
No, there's only one answer. No, Luigi, don't do this. Don't do it. Don't do it. I know where you're going.
Just do it.
Don't.
Do it.
Don't.
No, I weird.
Oh my god! You're striking out in this lightning round. Okay.
I mean,
fair.
hot.
Okay. How about
that
an
panel?
easier?
I love that. That panel was shocking. Loved it. But
I will concede in the most recent Jean Grey issue, it's implied that Madeline is part of Jean Grey's soul. So, as Sean pointed out in the comments of the post, yes, by that logic, then that would make them somewhat related. And that's fair and fine. And I will concede to that point, but only if you accept that Madeline and Jean are one and the same.
oh no, I can't accept that.
There we go. Boom. Okay. Emma or Jean?
I love them both, but I gotta say Jean.
That's a great answer. I love them both too. It's like kind of saying like pizza or hamburgers. Like you always get you love them both for a very different reason. Oh, Sean, you're Emma?
I'm Team Emma all the way. I'm not a huge Jean Grey fan at all. I think she's just a bit overdone and a bit boring. But there you go.
I don't know why you would think this cosmic being who's ascended from the mortal coil into godhood would be boring, but that's okay. That's okay. It's fine.
They're all gonna come for me now. They're all gonna come for me on the ground.
From the ashes and Phoenix Force Creations are gonna try to hack your account now.
All right. Wolverine.
All I know is I always want. I love having Jean around, and I love having Emma around. Like they're.
That's true.
I do love their dynamic. They do have, 100%. And we don't like pitting women against each other based off of a man. It's just these are two big powerhouses. You want to see them be frenemies, not fight over Cyclops. It's just that they're very powerful characters.
Who can resist?
Next hot take. Wolverine, Jean, and Cyclops. Are you here for it or are you not there for it?
I am here for it.
Yeah.
Very much here for it.
Agreed. I'm glad that they were able to flip that trope. Like, if we had to suffer through the Krakoa era of them fighting over Jean, it'd be like, what the fuck? I love that scene where Cyclops and Wolverine are sitting down, and Cyclops is like, Cyclops in a Speedo, and Wolverine's like, who wants to miss that? Hot.
Do you see Cyclops? It just hits different with Cyclops. Everybody just wants a piece of them.
Everyone loves a Boy Scout.
Hottest X-Men.
Okay, well, I think we kind of know the answer to this one. Which is the worst movie, Dark Phoenix or Last Stand?
I think Dark Phoenix overall is a worse movie than Last Stand, but there is some moments that I really loved in Dark Phoenix, just visually, some moments with the powers and scenes. So I will say that I still like Dark Phoenix better than Last Stand for those moments.
I think, like, you know, one of the things I was disappointed with Dark Phoenix was that it was a rehash of Last Stand, essentially.
Yeah.
And that they didn't do a proper Phoenix effect until the end. And you're like, you did it in Apocalypse. You foreshadowed it in an Apocalypse. Why wouldn't you just lean into it now? I shrug. That was like a serious misfire. It's such an obvious misfire that it only took someone paying attention to what was happening on the message boards to rectify that. But
The only thing I will say about the two is I know most people put Last Stand as really bad, but at least people remember that it was a movie. And I think the Dark Phoenix movie, I have moments where I'm like, oh yeah, they made that movie. That actually happened. I'm pretty sure I watched it on an airplane. You know, like that's how forgettable that movie was.
Yeah.
Luigi nodding.
He's like, I don't agree with you,
Yeah.
but sure.
No. I mean, I agree with you. The like story overall. I like I said, visually, there's scenes in it, like the scene with Dazzler.
Yeah, we love Halston Sage so much on this podcast.
Yeah.
You know, we've tried to get Halston Sage, but she's very busy. She has her last movie in 2019 is really taking up a lot of her time. Sean's like, I'm not touching that.
Yeah.
I'm not gonna get canceled.
The Halston Sage fans, all two of them are gonna come for me. Bring it. Sorry. But yeah, it was a very beautiful scene. Sorry to interrupt you.
Yeah.
I was gonna say, why don't you do the last hot take?
Okay, I'll do the last hot take. Wait, do you want to finish your Dazzler thoughts?
Oh no, go ahead.
You're like, there's not much more to say about Halston Sage. Okay.
No.
Last question. So the X-Men are kind of coming to the end of the Krakoan age. They have a new chapter waiting for them. What do you want to see out of the X-Men in the future?
I don't want to see them go back to the mansion because I feel like, you know, we gotta like evolve. Yeah, I don't know. I feel like maybe taking on more things to do with like humans would be interesting.
Which is always the core of the X-Men. They're always struggling for acceptance in a world that fears and hates them. I think that dogma is something that the X-books need to really sink their teeth in too.
Yeah, and I think it would be interesting if they, you know, somehow related it to like current events, current things that are like happening in the world. I always love when a X book gets a little bit political.
We love political X-books. I think X-Men Red is probably one of my favorite recent, like not the X-Men Red that's happening right now, but the one that was starring Jean Grey. But it dealt with fake news and what it meant to be a superhero in this era where news can be manipulated, and Twitter sort of is the dominant source of news for a lot of people. I thought it was brilliant. So I agree. I want a relevant X-Men take with everything that's going on in the world. I cannot believe we had the opportunity to chat with you for almost 2 hours. You are the heartthrob.
So much fun. I've been
the heartthrob of the X-Men community.
Please, you are like the king of the X-Men community. So I'm really happy to be on.
Where can folks at home find you?
So on Instagram, Twitter, Facebook, I'm SuperXLuigi, or X now.
Are you just X Luigi?
Yeah, he's rebranded to keep up.
Yeah, no, but yeah. So SuperXLuigi on all the socials, pretty easy.
When we were talking to Chris yesterday, Sean, we were like, "Oh yeah, we're going to interview Luigi tomorrow, and he's a cosplayer." And Chris is like, "Oh, is his name Luigi? Why is his name Luigi?" And I was like, "Oh, because I guess he cosplays as Luigi." And then they took a beat. I was like, "Oh wait, but his name is also Luigi."
But you have cosplayed Luigi, haven't you?
I have. I had to.
Yeah. So there you go. It's all full circle.
As far as like when Super Mario Brothers 2 was out, I was a Peach player. I was not a Luigi player.
I love Peach. Peach is one of my favorite.
I never Smash Brothers or whatever. I never played as Luigi, but you know, I gotta cosplay my namesake.
Wait, have you played Luigi's Mansion?
Yes,
I loved it so much. I played it.
My game
that was pre-pandemic.
My mansion would be a little bit different.
Wait, what would your mansion be?
We had ideas about how my game would play out. It'd be a different floors. There would be different men that you gotta conquer.
Wait,
and stay tuned for the next podcast we have coming up tomorrow. That one will be behind a paywall, so subscribe.
It's gonna be on our OnlyFans tomorrow.
Yeah.
Boom, right there.
It's gotta be. It's gotta be.
Luigi, such a pleasure. So happy we got to speak to you. Sean,
Yeah.
where are the folks sliding into your DMs? What do we have coming up on the podcast? I don't even know anything we do
What do we
anymore.
have? Well, we've got this one. We have a rant about Dazzler and Taylor Swift, which is inevitably going to have Swifties coming to get us.
No, I know. I can't have any more people hacking my accounts. Like, stop it, guys. I'll just give you my password. Like, just as long as I don't get those notifications at 3 a.m. Yeah, and then hopefully once, everything's resumed with the strikes, we were talking to Lucas Till's people, Olivia Munn's people, we can resume those. And, with everything going on with the X books in January, we will be covering them and having creators as they come up. And then
Lots of good stuff.
hopefully we're all three going to be doing WonderCon.
Nate Gray,
AOA Magneto, and Marvel. That's going to be hot.
yeah, iconic.